What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece treasure cruise video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing our treasure map preparation video for the upcoming TM versus S-Shark, technically versus Shanks. So what you guys are seeing here is the TM Planner website. If you guys have no idea about what this website is about, definitely go ahead and click the link down below in the description. So basically, when you come to this website, it's going to be fully like this, and you can just drag and drop units onto a team, build your team, and this is like the best way to build teams in One Piece Treasure Cruise. It is just the easiest way to do it, because if you have like a unit here, for example, and then like you have units like here and here, and you want to switch units around, you can just go ahead and do that, and then you can finalize your team on this website, and then just copy whatever units you've built here into your game so that you can have your team fully built. It's way easier to build it here, trust me. You can click on here, get the details of all the fights, makes things a lot easier, right? So let's go ahead and get into it. So of course, this is the preparation video, so this is going to be using characters that, you know, I wouldn't say accessible, but this is not using some of like the higher end units that have just come out for the TM Suga or anything like that. No real surprise though that we are going to be using Buggy for the friend captain for some of these, but we'll break down all the fights so you guys know exactly what's going on. First fight here versus Rockstar. This is the first Battle Rush boss. He gives cooldown to all units, so that doesn't really matter. The big thing with him is he gives 8 turn paralysis, normal attacks only, 5 turn defense, and 6 turns of despair. So if you have this Monkey D. Luffy with like max level limit break, his captain ability does remove, it's not listed here, but his captain ability removes a bunch of despair and paralysis. Nami removes more paralysis. Zoro removes the defense, and that's basically all you really need to know, is that Luffy as the captains, Zoro and Nami basically deal with everything. The other two units can basically be whatever you want. I like the Brook here because he can help you wave clear the first 2 stages, and then you've also got Robin, which can give you a defense down conditional boost because there's no immunity on this stage, so it just gives you more damage. But Rockstar is very, very easy, so you don't really have to worry too much about that. Moving on to Yasopp. Yasopp is a little bit more difficult. So what I would advise is to run essentially like a powerhouse team. So you see that with this one that you get cooldowns for fighters, powerhouse, and cerebral. And the way this fight is structured is basically you want to have this free-to-play Sakazuki as your captain, and with double Sakazuki as your captain, you basically just carry throughout the whole thing. It's basically just use him. What I would say, I suppose, is you could try and run one of these units on your team in order to actually activate his super effect. I didn't do that in this team example, but I suppose that's probably a good thing you should do. And then the rest of the units are kind of just supplementary units to Sakazuki that help you get more damage in some capacity. These are just random free-to-play units that I grabbed, but again, just use Sakazuki as the captain because he basically counters all of the gimmicks that you see here. He deals with the threshold, he does remove HP, so he gets rid of the stun. He also gives cooldown reduction, and this is only to row 2, so cooldown on row 2. The stun is on row 3, so your captains are unaffected, and he does slot change stuff, so having characters that can change slots around is going to be the way to go as well. So nothing really, again, too noteworthy for the Yasopp fight. Versus Lucky Roux, this one is what they want you to do. They want you to use 6 plus Kuma. Now, it is unfortunate with the way that this is kind of designed because Kuma is very good for this, but like Kuma's a very high booster, so it would be nice to kind of like shuffle him onto the Shanks or the S-Shark fight. So this is a very weird fight. I feel like there's something that I'm missing here, but you see that 2 random characters are blown away. Kuma's captain ability resists the blow away, which is fine, immune to blow away. The other thing though, there is normal attacks only. Now, I don't understand why there's normal attacks only, because when you kill the enemy, they do a 90% health cut, they recover 10% of the enemy's HP, so they revive, and then you have a slot attack down. So basically, every single slot reduces damage against the enemy, and then you can only tap with 1 character. So I don't understand exactly what they want you to do. The way that I kind of think this is supposed to work is the enemy revives, they cut your health by 90%, and then it should activate Kuma's ability, where it does 100 times damage taken from enemies in the previous turn as type as damage to all enemies. But the problem that I don't really know how you get around is, why do they give you normal attacks only if they want you to kill him with Kuma's captain ability? Unless if this is removed when you kill the enemy, or there's something I'm missing. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe the HP doesn't scale. That could also be a reason why. We'll have to wait and see. But essentially, you just use Kuma as the captains, and then the rest of the units, again, just supplementary to that strategy. That's basically all you really need to do. Nothing too crazy. versus Ben Beckman. So this is the battle rush boss, the final battle rush boss that is actually really tricky. The way that this kind of works is that characters that are Dex, Quick, and Psi all receive cooldown. You can see there's a lot of gimmicks here. There's Special Bind, there is Despair, there is Bind. All of your slots become bomb slots. Just really annoying stuff. And the fact that like these all happen like simultaneously, the bind is also to your captains. So what we're doing here is, so you get inflicted with special bind, and then your captain's inflicted with despair. Luffy deals with the despair, so we don't have to worry about that. By the way, if you don't know what this is Stampede Luffy 6+. So this character, like, you could run whatever team you really want. This character is not boosted in this content. However, I'm waiting for the database to load. One of the real positives about Stampede Luffy is that he has a very, very low cooldown. And because of that, it means that running him in content such as this is actually not really that big of a downside. So this is the Luffy that we're talking about. And if you don't know Stampede Luffy, it is this guy, this ugly ass artwork right here. This guy with his super evolution. You could use the base form of him too. You don't really need the 6+. But the thing about him is his captain ability is great, removing despair and paralysis by 10 turns. Very low cooldown as well, like 9 turns with expansion. 10 turns base is also very good. But the big thing about this special is that it just gives himself a matching slot and then a massive attack and all boost, base attack boost, all that good stuff. So when we reach the final stage, like, Luffy's kind of your big damage dealer. Now on this team as well is we do have Kobe. Kobe's sole purpose is to remove bind and special bind, which he does by 6 turns. He resists it with his crewmate ability as well, so we get rid of the special bind, we get rid of the bind, which is only on the captains, and then the despair is removed via Luffy's captain ability. And the whole point of this team is to basically charge Luffy, so Luffy just hits really, really hard. Of course, he doesn't have type advantage, so this team is not going to work like in really deep levels of the TM, but in the purposes of getting your points for the treasure map rewards, this should suffice. So Bonnie, Kizaru, Jinbei, all not really required. If you don't have Kobe, you want someone to remove a bunch of bind for you. You want someone to remove a bunch of special bind in order to get through this content. So now we can have a look at the tough stuff, which is going to be versus Shanks and versus S-Shark. So against this fight, these teams, again, I don't think they're not like optimal by any sense. They're gonna work, but they're a little clunky. So we'll break down all these fights. So with this one, of course, we want to use Buggy as the friend captain. Now, despite the fact that Buggy, you think on paper, is going to be mainly focusing on driven characters, he does still give a boost to all other units, which is a positive. So that's a really big thing there. So we look at the content on stage 2 of this Shanks fight. There is full board of badly slots, there is paralysis by 6 turns, and there's a stupid pain debuff. So you take 10,000 damage every time you perform an action. So the way that we're getting around this is we're going to use Luffy special. Luffy gets rid of the paralysis. He changes top and bottom row slots into rainbow. He does give an attack boost, but it's only for quick units and free spirit units. So in this sense, only really Luffy and the Nami Carrot unit are going to be buffed here. With this team, by the way, you want to start as Carrot because you want to be getting Dex as the cooldown, and then we can switch into Nami during the fight. When we get to the final stage, we can basically do everything. So there's a lot of stuff here. This is very poorly worded. I don't really like this too much, but the way that this is kind of worded is that, so the position-wise, this slot here with Buggy, Luffy's slot, and the Ace and Whitebeard slot are all binded by 10 turns. So I hate that they do this, because if you have your own Buggy in like your own captain position, you can just remove the bind and it's not a problem, and the special bind is not a problem. It is very frustrating though. One thing though is that the bind does happen last in terms of the order of operations. So the special bind is technically inflicted first, so Buggy's captain ability should still remove the special bind. I guess I did kind of overlook that. I did completely overlook that, which is why I opted to use Sabo as the main captain here, just to get around that. But I guess now that I kind of realized that the special bind is inflicted first, you don't technically need to use Sabo as your captain, so you could switch that up for whatever you want. You could potentially use Crocodile as the main captain if you wanted to do something along those lines as well, and then replace Sabo for something else. Definitely a strategy that you could try and use. You get cooldown or special reverse for characters in the rows 2 and rows 3. I did actually overlook the fact that the characters also are inflicted with 1 turn of special reverse. That is so stupid. I don't understand why they've made this Shanks fight so incredibly difficult. But with Brule here and the Mr. 3 support on Crocodile, you can get around the special reverse. It is only for the bottom 2 rows, so your captains are not inflicted with this. I'm pretty sure Buggy does not give cooldown with his special. No, he doesn't. So that really does suck. But in terms of getting around everything, we would go ahead and use would switch to on Nami and Karina, and then we can use their special ability. That's going to remove a ton of the bind on the team, which is good. How many turns of bind is it? It goes down to 10, goes down to 7 with socket. So technically, you do need a bind remover support as well. My God, this stupid content. They could put Rayleigh here. That's going to work. Actually, no, Rayleigh would trigger earlier. So technically, it needs to be something else. They could remove at least 1 turn of bind. So this Otama would work fine. That's not going to work. Technically, this Kobe would work. You could use something else here, like... no, that's not going to work because you're inflicted with paralysis on the stage earlier. That's really stupid. You could use this Koala. This Koala would also work on Sabo. Either one of those two, something like that would work. And then on the stage here versus Shanks, there is a barrier where you need to have 3 strength slots. So the way you get around that is with Buggy, right? So Buggy's superclass special will change his own slot into strength. His special ability changes all of them into his own slot. So obviously you get a full board of strength slots. And then his special ability, of course, removes the pain debuff. Now, that pain debuff is going to be doing a lot of damage to you, but the Nami and Carrot special does give you 30,000 healing. So that does offset some of the pain debuff that you would have received, which does allow you to kind of survive it, which is good. And then, of course, you got Sabo. You don't really want to use his EX Super. You can technically use it on stage 2 if you wanted to. The problem is, though, is that on the final stage, you want to have those strength slots in order to get through the barrier, which is kind of important. But basically, on the final stage, you're going to have a bunch of buffs active. That's not really going to be that big of an issue. The issue is kind of stage 2, because we're only really relying on Luffy special, and I'm not 100% sure if that's going to give you enough damage to get through stage 2. We'll see, right? We'll see how that kind of goes. Moving on to S-Shark. So S-Shark is the Intrusion boss. This one does feel a little bit easier. So there is 9 turns of Despair, which is why I opted for Sabo as the captain here. 6 turns of Defense. Now this is where we have Nami and Karina. So you want to start as Nami and then switch into Karina, and then Karina's special ability will remove the defense. We are using this Oiran Luffy once again, not Oiran Luffy, Bath Time Luffy should I say, because his special will give an attack boost, and then with the support of Momonosuke, that's going to allow you to do end of turn damage, which will allow you to get around the resilience. Alternatively, what you could do is you could activate, instead of having Nami special active, you could use Karina special, or vice versa. Because either Nami or Karina, one of them does this, one of them does this. So unfortunately, you can't remove both in the same turn with like just Nami Karina by herself. But what you could do is you could use the this Luffy, the New Year's Luffy on the team, and his special ability removes defense up completely. So you could technically do that as well if you didn't want to run that. The problem is that if you do go down that route, I mean, it just depends on your team scenario and what you've got. That probably is better because, you know, you don't have to rely on a Momo support. Because you could use Luffy to remove this, and then Nami Karina can remove that. You don't have to worry about the resilience. It just depends on your team scenario. Either way, Nami Karina give you adjacent slots into G slots, and that's going to help you get through that. So stage 2 is not a problem at all. And then when you reach the final stage, you can see that there's 8 turns of bind on row 2, row 3, and this is where the Buggy superclass and his special are going to be really clutch. Full board of strength slots, get rid of the bind, which is really good. And then there's also a chain debuff, where if your chain is below 2.5, then you get reduced damage. So this is why we have the Sanji, the free-to-play Sanji. When you have investments into this guy, he's just super, super good, because you get a 2.5 times chain boundary for 2 turns, which allows you to actually do damage on this stage. Now, another thing as well is that there is a barrier where you need to hit him with 2 super bomb slots. Now, we are just going to be using barrier penetration to get through it, because this Buggy has barrier pierce, and Kuma also has barrier pierce. So that's the main reason why we're doing that. Kuma, of course, gives very significant color affinity boost to strength and dex units. It is a dex boss, so you know, Buggy and Kuma are going to be hitting a lot harder on this boss. So that's the strategy here. There is obviously burn, which could be a bit of a problem, but we're just kind of trying to ignore it, because look, if you're trying to run more cost-efficient teams, you kind of have to make shortcuts in some ways. And, you know, removing burn, trying to squeeze all these gimmick removals in one team, it is tough. It is not easy. Look, these are just the preemptive teams that I came up with initially. I'll probably give you guys a rundown of my own personal teams once I get around to doing it. But we'll have to wait and see exactly. I haven't really finalized exactly what I'm doing yet. But hopefully this gives you a bit of information as to what you should be expecting in this treasure map. We'll see how things go. The mini bosses don't sound too bad, but the Shanks fight is kind of brutal. S-Shark is doable. But yeah, just the Shanks fight just seems really silly. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.